Welcome, everyone. I'm Sherold Barr from SheroldBarr.com, and today I'm bringing you another interview in my series called Women Entrepreneurs on the Rise, where we share the backstory of what goes on in real businesses and the challenges and successes of how these women have stayed in business and are moving forward to thrive. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce Thea Anderson from the UK. Thea has worked for nearly 10 years empowering people to step up, be brave, and follow their calling. She calls herself a bold soul life coach and is known for working very intuitively with her clients, as well as believing in the power of play and creativity. Welcome, Thea.
Thank you. It's great to be talking to you today, Sherold.
I'm so thrilled. So I want you to talk about the story of your business, how you got started, how long you've been in business, and let us hear that story.
Well, Sherold, my business started with a bit of a wake-up call. I was actually, after university, doing many jobs that I didn't really find fulfilling or particularly enjoy, and always had an interest in psychology and spirituality. And I was even thinking about training in psychotherapy. And then the wake-up call happened. Basically, at the age of 26, back in 2003, I suddenly got really, really poorly with an illness that's known as chronic fatigue syndrome. And this illness gets a really bad rap because people think it's not a real illness, but believe me, it is. I went from being, a healthy young woman to feeling like I could barely get out of bed, and I had to leave my job. And I was really faced with myself. And at the time, medical science wasn't doing a lot to help me. And I had this interest, as I say, in psychology and spirituality. So I began to think about, okay, what might have led to me getting ill, and why has this happened, and how can I get myself better? And luckily, I found out about this amazing clinic in London that treated people on the nutritional side, but also treated people on the psychological side, so around their mindset and history and stress and all sorts of things. Mm-hmm. And I began to apply all of the tools that I was learning there to help me to recover. So I actually ended up training in NLP and hypnotherapy and life coaching and EFT.
Wow.
As well as going on, every course you can possibly imagine, from energy healing to past lives to Jungian psychology. I did the lot because I was so desperate to apply this stuff to myself. And fortunately, over time, it started to work, and it actually took me about 6 years to recover in total.
Wow.
But along the way, I did my training, and I also started to work with other people, and I realised a lot of really important stuff about myself as well. And that's why I said it was a wake-up call, because I really got interested in Joseph Campbell's idea of the hero's journey, and that there had to be some kind of meaning behind all of this, and that I'd been sort of ignoring my call in life. And that was to do with my work, but also that I had terrible boundaries. It was like, I realised I was very intuitive and could sense a lot in other people. And it was literally like I'd become this sponge and was absorbing it into my body. So I had to learn how to deal with that. And alongside that, I also learned how much play and fun and creativity was important to me. So I also studied The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, which is an amazing book. Okay. And also, in the end, as I started to recover, trained in improvised comedy and still perform today on stage, which was something I had never done before I got ill.
So you're a seeker, like I
Yes,
am, and many of us, and I call us light workers or healers, are seekers. I think part of our mode of operation is that we want to help and make a difference. And that sounds like, and a lot of us come from the place of, I want to say something that's happened to us. You could also say it's something that we went through so we can speak from it and we can help others. And I know that's where you started. What are some of the other challenges that you had in making money and making your business sustainable so you could stay in business? And did you have mindset, fears, and other things that were, this is kind of what I call the backstory that people really aren't sharing, but we all go through this on our Shero or hero's journey as an entrepreneur, because the journey is filled with dragons, and the dragons, I like to say, are the fears and the mindset issues. And that can stop us or have us go back or reject the call. So talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything you just said was true for me, and you work on it constantly too. I think one of the biggest things for me was that I trained in psychology and working with people, and had got good at that, and people telling me all the time that I'm helping them to transform their lives. But I felt from a business point of view, I was learning as much as I could by picking things up. But that wasn't part of my course. I'd never actually trained in how to have a business. So I worked for a time for the clinic that I mentioned, but then I decided to work for myself, slightly naively, but also, it was perfect for me because it really threw me in at the deep end. And suddenly you have to learn about online technology, about marketing, how you're going to get clients, and also how you're going to talk about what you do and express yourself. And so I think the biggest issue for me is probably been support. Because I was so ill for such a long time and it was so difficult financially, I came away from that with debt. So I actually didn't have any money to put into my business. So I was stuck not being able to expand it to the point that I would ideally have loved to. And I actually got to a point, even though I always had clients and people were saying, yeah, you do this amazing stuff, I felt frustrated. And I got to a point a couple of years ago where I actually had a bicycle accident where a car hit me when I was on my bike. And I was lucky to have survived that, and considering what happened, not come out of it too badly with some issues with my back and concussion. But it really made me stop again. I think it was a kind of secondary wake-up call. Yeah. It got me to really pay attention. And for a little while after that happened, I thought, maybe I'm going to have to quit. Maybe I'm doing the wrong thing, which I think is part of the hero's journey. You always give up. And then I realized, no, actually what I need is more help and support. And I decided to actually get myself a business loan, which was great to do because in filling out the application for a business loan, you get really clear about what you're doing. And I found you, Sherold, and that's just been brilliant because I feel like I've got the support that I need now around learning about the structure of running, a bit more of the structure of running a business, and having the personal and emotional support. Because the other side of it that you said is around fears. I thought that it was always the money that was holding me back, that the money that I needed to grow the business. But actually, I realised a large part of it was actually that I was a little bit scared because this was about putting my voice out in the world and being bold with that as well. So you really helped me to further release those and to continue to express myself.
And what you described with putting yourself online and your voice is the classic things that I see every day, multiple times a day, are the mindset and the fears that stop women. And the business strategy that you talk about, yes, as coaches, we're not taught a lot of the deep business parts of how to build a solid foundation and sales. And that's because they can't teach you coaching and everything. A lot of the courses try to do that. This is where I too struggled when I started my practice. And it's really learning the key foundational pieces and getting the mindset support. When you face some of these fears and gone forward, how has that changed your confidence? Has that changed? Being courageous is really what it is. I like to say the universe rewards courage because I see proof of that in myself and in others. So how has that been rewarding for you to go through things that have been things that, like even taking improv is kind of amazing?
Doing things that are challenging and courageous, I suppose, and also working on releasing the fears has been hugely liberating because I realise I'm far more capable of things than I ever imagined. And that actually when those fears are removed, I can start to fly. I can start to work really quickly and do so much more. I think also one of them is about releasing the perfectionist. That I wanted to be so good at school, and get all A's. I would spend hours in my room working perfectly on things. And now, as we've talked about, Sherold, I'm really enjoying making videos, as you are. And, there's just no way that you can get it perfectly straight off the bat. You just can't. And I'm learning how to be really brave and just do it and not try and make it absolutely perfect and still put it out there anyway.
Again, you touched on something I want to share. I like to say that when we're doing something new and we're not good at it and we know that it's a challenge for us, that to do it anyway, because that's how you get good. And none of us are ever ready. And I know now you're really at a place where I see you moving straight up in what you're doing, because you built your business foundation, you've worked on your website, and you've done a lot more work about your ideal customer, and you've gotten clear about what you want to do. And as we remove those fears, now you're just, like you said, ready to take off, fly, and you are. You're flying right now. So what would you share, what lessons would you share with an entrepreneur that might be watching?
Yeah, I think there's probably three main ones for me. I think the first one is what I've mentioned about gaining support. I wish I'd gained more support earlier. I kind of expected myself just to know and to be able to do everything straight off the bat. And I think being an entrepreneur of any sort requires you learning so many different sorts of skills, which is wonderfully creative and what I love about it. But it requires you to learn and, learn from other people as well as gaining that emotional support. So that's number one. I think number two is that fear is natural. And someone once said to me that if you're going to run your own business, you're going to, and especially if it's a business that's coming from you, it's like a soul business, it's coming from your heart, or it's about your self-expression and your support of other people. It's going to challenge you on the deepest levels, and it's going to force you into releasing those biggest, deepest blocks and obstacles that, we all have. If I'd have known that from the start, what a big personal journey it was, I think I would have gained a little bit more help along the way. Mm-hmm. And I think number three is to have fun with it, and learn to work in a way that really suits you. I think for me, I've honed that over the years. For example, I've learned that if I want to be most productive, sometimes it's actually sitting in a cafe and writing around other people and not isolating myself. Or sometimes it's having a break and having a dance in the living room. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's getting on the phone and having a conversation with someone that you know is really inspiring and is going to really support you and that you're going to have a laugh with at the same time.
I love that.
Thank you, Sherold.
To be an entrepreneur, you've got to be tenacious. You've got to persevere, because the obstacles and challenges come, and it's those of us that are willing to figure out another way. Maybe the way we were going isn't the right way, or we can't go that way. What is another way we might do it? If we can. Sometimes we just have to take a right turn and not do that. Because I'd had another business and been successful, I thought I could do it myself. And I kept trying and trying to crack the code. That's how I work. What is everybody doing that I'm not doing for a couple years here? And it was finally saying, I need my own mastermind, my own coach, and to up-level what I don't know. And it's that that's important. And when you invest in yourself, there is something magical that happens, and I know it's happened for you, and it happens because we're committing to being full on in, because we've got skin in the game, and that's an important thing to know. Even for me, always have skin in the game, or having my own support, my own mastermind, because if you surround yourself with women who are successful, that will bring you up, just that. Having that support of other, for in our case, women, to do that. So I really appreciate your story. I think it's remarkable that you've come through illnesses and kept persevering and really invested in yourself and in your business to continue, because I see you on the rise for sure. Thank you so much, Thea. It's an honor and a privilege to know you and to interview you.
Oh, likewise. Thanks so much for having me here today,
You're
Sherold.
welcome. Take care.